Well, let me talk a little bit, first of all, about the course, and maybe just before I do that, to introduce who are we who are going to be leading the course. You know me. I think most of you know me. I'm the bishop for the Trent-Durham area, and this is, as I say, the fourth time I've had the opportunity to do this. One of the things I really like about doing this course is it gives me an opportunity to engage with all of you, laity and clergy, at a time other than a Sunday morning or in the context of either a crisis or a parish selection committee. So this is an opportunity for us to have some conversation and imagining about the life and future of the church together. And I really enjoy this and look forward to it each time I do it. So I'm really delighted to be with you. Let me talk a little bit about what these 5 evenings will be about. It's not going to be a Bible study per se, although we will be talking about Scripture and there will be Scripture incorporated into our discussions. It's not primarily a lecture. There will be opportunities for discussion, for feedback, for you to say, no, I don't think that's the way it looks at all. So it's meant to be an dialogical kind of thing. There will be an opportunity for discussion around your tables or with neighbors or with people from other congregations. There'll always be an opportunity for a snack, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we're very grateful tonight that All Saints Whitby has offered to be the host for this evening. So, it's not a lecture series, a Bible study, and it's not going to be highly academic. It's meant, so if that's not what it is going to be an overview of our changing culture and the role of the church in it, lots of discussion, things to think about, and informal opportunities for sharing. It will not ultimately be practical in the sense of giving you a whole program or a set of things you can just go back to your own church and start to do. It's meant to stimulate your imagination. It's meant to get you thinking. And one of the reasons that I've asked that there be more than 1 or 2 people from each parish is so that you can think together, not only while you're here in the evenings, but when you go back into your congregations, so that you can imagine together and then start sharing that imagination. It's a little bit like being yeast. You're going to bubble up within your congregations with some of the things you're going to be imagining. But at the end of the course, there will be the opportunity to ask the question, where do we go from here? For yourself individually, for yourselves as a parish, and to see if there's anything that we want to do together going forward further. There will be 5 sessions. The one tonight is entitled Brave New World. What does this world look like? What are the things that have affected the church over the last 50 years? The next session will be What in the World is God up to? Looking at some of the basic elements of what it is to be the church. The third one we call the School of Jesus. I was actually quite surprised the other day to be in a conversation with someone of an unnamed congregation somewhere in Canada who said that their incumbent preached a really passionate sermon about being disciples of Jesus. And one of the parishioners after the service came up to this particular minister and said, "Don't you ever do that again. Don't you ever talk about that in a sermon again. I'm not a disciple, I'm a member of this church." And I thought, oops, we've got a problem. At the very least, if we are baptized, we are disciples. So what does that look like? What does it mean? We don't often go back to the basics and talk about that. So this will be an opportunity to do that. Session 4 is Changing World, Changing Church. What are some of the ways we can begin to think differently about the church? How many here are cradle Anglicans? Okay, fair number. How many came from a totally unchurched background as a young person? Okay, we've got several of those. How many came from another denomination, raised in another denomination? Okay. We got a good mix of possibilities for conversation then. Changing world, changing church, and then lastly, where do we go from here? What are some of the resources that might help us to begin to take our reimaginings out into some practical experience?